wait I can't wait until I'm actually in the video and I'm able to say, you know, "Welcome back," something like that. It's kinda hard when I start off these videos because it's only my voice that you're hearing, you're not really seeing me in the video, and as I said before, I can't wait until I'm actually in the video, but this video, I'm gonna talk about closure, and why doesn't the narcissist like to give closure when you break up or months later? Um, a lot of people talk about the lack of closure that narcissists give, and I feel that there's a few reasons for this. Okay, I think I think one of the main reasons is because when you give closure after a breakup, in giving closure to your ex, you kind of have to admit fault, right? You have to admit fault. You have to admit that the relationship did not work out. Okay. You're giving that person closure. And with closure comes a finality. With closure comes, this feeling that it's really over, right? That it's final. What is closure? Closure is basically both parties realizing that it didn't work out and accepting it. Accepting it, acknowledging it and accepting it, and realizing that the relationship didn't work for such and such and such reasons. Um, you need to both move on from that relationship, move on from each other, still be nice and cordial to each other, of course, but it's a finality closure. Because when you give closure, that means that, it's over. And narcissists, they don't really like that. They don't like when something is over. Narcissists like to have the opportunity that if they need you in the future, you might be there for them. Narcissists don't like the finality and also admitting any kind of fault. Okay. So if a narcissist was to give you closure, and I'm talking about if you're ex and you are talking about your relationship, or when you break up and you get that closure feeling, that means that the narcissist would have to admit some sort of fault as to why it didn't work out for them, or maybe some of their shortcomings in why the relationship didn't work. And narcissists never do that. Narcissists will never tell you, you know what, I was a real asshole to you. I should have done this and this and this for you, and I didn't. I regret this. I should have treated you so much better than I did. I should have talked to you more. I should have been, I should have done this with you and I never did it. Narcissists don't care about that stuff, okay? That is meaningless to them. And they're not going to admit to any kind of, you know, shortcomings, downfalls, fault, blame. They don't do that. They will always blame you. They're going to look for a reason to blame you, always. They're not going to ever blame themselves and say, I was doing this. They're never going to come clean. Okay. Narcissists are not about coming clean. They're not going to admit to you, yes, I was cheating on you. Yes, I lied to you. Even though you have all this proof and damn sure that's what they were doing. You're never going to hear it come out of their mouth. They can't stand they can't stand to be the person who is, basically to blame for the breakup. They don't want that. They don't like to feel like it's their fault. So they're going to blame you. They're going to pick stuff out of their ass to kind of make it seem like you did this, you were doing that, you were doing that, and that's why, and then they're going to try and justify their behavior by saying, well, of course I was going out because you were doing this and I couldn't take it. And like they justify everything with these stupid, dumb, they flip things to make it seem like it's your fault when it was never your fault. Um, but no, narcissists don't give closure. A lot of times, like I said, you won't get closure from a narcissist. Usually you won't. Not real closure, because like I said, they are unable to admit their faults. They're not going to ever say to you, yes, I should have done this and that, and I wish I have regrets over this, I have regrets over that. They're never going to take blame for nothing. So you're never going to get that validation of closure from them. Closure is something that you're going to have to, you know, find in yourself. You're going to have to find it in your own peace of mind, in the things that you know about them, and the things that you know about the relationship you had with them, and the way you feel now. And I know for myself, I never got closure. I did get it when we broke up. There was a sense of over. Yes, there was. Um, but I was never validated. I was never validated for them to actually tell me their downfall, like what happened with them. They never really came clean about anything that they did. They never admitted anything that they did. They never, uh, you know, admitted anything ever. They just blamed you or me. They blamed me. And I've said it many times on this forum. I will always say that, I've always been a very good girlfriend to all my boyfriends. I'm a very good girlfriend, and especially with my ex narcissist, I was really good. So, um, you know, they're not going to give closure. They want to have the chance in the future to possibly return. And like I said, not to return because they want to be with you or they want to rectify anything. They want to return to see if they can possibly use you a little bit more if they need be. If they happen to become single in the future, they want to be able to call you up and say, "Hey," it's almost like, what do you call it? Oh, there was a name for this. It was like a security blanket type thing. It's kind of like that. They like to, this is what they do with their exes a lot of times. Their exes are like a security blanket for them, where they like to be able to, if they do become single, they want to be able to kind of use you again and like kind of like start talking to you again. Like, well, she was pretty good supply. I can probably talk to her again. Mm. And they will try to talk to you like nothing ever happened, as if you, and basically as if nothing was wrong between the two of you. And it's amazing that they do this, but this is what they do. And I've even talked about breaking up with a narcissist. Like, I know many times me and my ex would break up all the time, especially during the devalue stage. And we would break up sometimes for a week or two, sometimes 2 weeks. And he would always kind of get me back by future faking. Um, you know, we'll get engaged. And that did happen. That was one promise he did keep. It was the only promise he kept, was that. Or we'll get married. We'll get the papers tomorrow. We'll sign them together. We'll go to the place together. We'll do this together. If you want this, I'll do this. And they'll future fake with you. You'll forgive them. And then when you kind of see each other, they won't even bring it up. It's almost like nothing ever happened. It's like, we just broke up for 2 weeks. And though it's almost as if nothing really ever went down. It's like, are you kidding me? For a whole week you were crying. And now when we're together, you act like nothing ever happened. Like, they're real weird that way. They're real weird that way. And I think it's because they don't want to be put on the spot, to have to talk about the breakup, to have to talk about what they're doing, what they did, and also the promises that they made you, the future faking promises that they made you. They're going to have to somehow stand up to those promises, right? And I know with me and my ex narcissist, he would promise all kinds of things like that, and it never happened. And he kept on doing it and doing it and doing it. After like the third time, I'm like, you're just bullshitting. Like, I know that you're not going to do this. Like, what's the point? Like, and I didn't even care anymore. At a certain point, I was just like, this is just stupid. Like, at a certain point, he knew that he couldn't bullshit me either because he would stop. Like, at a certain point, the narcissist knows that you're onto them. You're onto their lies. Like, when you call them out on it, you know damn well they're not going to do what you want, or they're not going to do anything and clean up the way they've been acting, and actually be loyal and committed, and they're not going to do that. So the narcissist finally accepts, at some point the narcissist will accept that, yeah, you're gonna break up with them. Because if you're the kind of person that, like for me, it had come to a head because here I am. I had been with this guy for about 5 years at this point. I guess it was around 5 years. And it was either a do or die. It was like either we're gonna, you know, start acting our ages and either get married and or we're gonna break up. It was to that point because the way it was, I wasn't happy with the way things were. There was no security on my end. I had been already given this guy 5 years of my life, and I felt like, for what? If you're not going to take the plunge, and this was my mentality at that time. See, I was very immature at that time. I was very naive because he would have never, it would have never lasted with him, because getting married to him would have been a disservice to myself because he didn't treat me nowhere near the way he should have. He was very selfish. Like most narcissists are very selfish. He was very selfish, very untrusting with a lot of things when it came to me. Just not a good supportive guy. And I'm not talking just financially. Yeah, of course, financially. I mean, what else, right? Like, yeah, financially, emotionally, mentally, in every single way. Everything felt short with him. Everything. And had I been the type of woman who was independent and a career woman, maybe I wouldn't have needed him so much. But I wasn't. I was never a career woman. I was never the kind of person that had like a really, really super duper, really, really good job. I needed him, and he was never there for me. I can't even tell you one time when he actually was there. He wasn't. He was never there for me. So if I would have went along with that, and if say he did, and any of the future faking times that he did future fake with me actually came to fruition, and he promised and he kept his promise, then we probably would end up divorced, because it would not have worked. I would have not have been satisfied with what he provided to me. He was not he was just not boyfriend material for me. I had been treated a lot better, and he just fell short in that department. When you get with a girl, or even with a guy, you kind of know the kind of guy. You kind of know what the guy can offer you. You know the limitations of the career that they have, the job that they have. You know all this stuff, when you start dating somebody, especially if you're in a long-term relationship with them, right? And I feel like, well, if I wasn't this independent person that he wanted, then he should have never been with me. If he wasn't going to take on the responsibility of what I wanted, which he knew exactly the kind of relationship I wanted, then he should never been with me. Narcissists will do this. They will waste years of your life. They will do this on purpose and deliberately, you know what I mean? Because they don't want anybody else to be with you. And they'll just keep dragging it out forever. Like I said, if I didn't break up with my ex-narcissist, we never would have broken up probably, because it just would have kept on dragging out. But I was not happy with the way it was. there was no benefits with him at all. Like, there was nothing. And, at the end of it, I had to say to myself, I deserve better. I deserve someone who wants to be with me for the right reasons, to be committed to me for the right reasons, and was really dedicated and invested in me the way I was. And he just wasn't like that. Um, so, like I said, I have been in other relationships since that narcissistic one, a couple of them. I'm in one now that I'm very happy in. This is, I think, the one that I was meant to be in my whole life, because I've never been happier than I am now. And I'm just very much very content right now with everything. And it did take me a while to get here, though. I've been broken up with my ex narcissist for 10 years almost now, going on 10. And this did not happen overnight. It took me a long time to get to this, to the point where I am now, in being able to even talk about this in a very light manner where I'm not affected by it. Because when you break up with a narcissist and you've been broken up with them for a while, um, it takes a little bit to really clear your head and to deal with all of the after effects of a relationship with these people, because there are after effects. Um, you know, I think that it's a little bit easier if you were in a relationship with a narcissist and they were a narcissist, but I had no idea that he was a narcissist until after the breakup, and someone told me, your ex sounded like a narcissist. Um, so I didn't even know what I was dealing with at the time. So I think, had I known, I would have been more protected. I would have more armor up to kind of like deal with the way he was treating me, and all the games and the nonsense. And like I said, the mind games, the fake promises, all the stuff that he did, had I known what he was, but I didn't. So yeah, it does take time. But with the time that you do become very, very strong, and you do become very experienced experienced in future dating, because like I said, he wasn't the only narcissist I've ever dated. I mean, I dated a few of them. And since dating him, I've been able to sense, just by going out on one date, I can sense it now. This guy definitely has tendencies of a narcissist. You can just kind of tell. Um, Even by talking to somebody on the phone for an hour, you can kind of tell, this is, I'm dealing with a narcissist. You just know. You just know. Like, once you've dealt with one, they become very easy to spot after you've had one. This was a really long one, so anyway, yeah, that's the way I feel about it. But closure is not something that a narcissist gives you. They might give you like this, like kind of like phony kind of thing, where they might say, I'm sorry, and they don't really mean it. They don't, when they say sorry, they don't mean it at all. They basically will say sorry because they want something from you. So they'll like pretend that they're sorry, but they're not really sorry. They don't give a shit about anything that are talking about at that moment. If you need them to apologize, they don't care. They don't give a shit. Um, so yeah, closure, like I said, you have to find closure yourself. You have to find it in your own happiness, in your own truth, in the things that you know that are real. Anything that the narcissist told you, which is all bullshit, you gotta just let that aside, leave it in the past, and just know that you're better off without them, and you're better off now than you ever were with them. And nothing good would ever come from a narcissist. Nothing good comes from these people. You know, they're just, they're snakes. They're just snakes. They're not good people. They don't have your back. They never have your back. If you really need a narcissist, like if I ever need, no, thankfully, knock on wood, I never needed my narcissist for anything like big. But if I had, he wouldn't have been there for me. He would have never been there for me. He wasn't, even for the small things that I needed him for, he was never there for me. And I dated him for 7 years. And he was the longest relationship I ever had. And I'm not talking about this to be materialistic or anything like that, but he was my longest relationship, and like the boyfriend that I got the least from. And I'm not talking about getting engaged or getting married. I'm just talking about mentally, emotionally, caring, having, mental support and any kind of support for that matter. Whether it's financial support, mental support, emotional support, any support when people fall on hard times for whatever reason. He was just not there. I had to basically beg if I really needed anything, and it sucked. Like I knew that something wasn't right. And I remember talking to an ex-boyfriend of mine, and I was telling him because he had me and him had run into each other, and he was pissed off. He's like, "What are you doing with that guy?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's just like your boyfriend doesn't like help you. He doesn't do anything for you. And I was like, no, he doesn't. He does nothing for me, like really very little. And he was pissed off. He's like, what are you doing, Jen? He was just like, what are you doing? He was very aggravated about stuff. And I guess he was a little disappointed that things weren't going to work out with him either. But he, it was just one of those things where he was just very disappointed. He was disappointed in myself. And when I look back too, there is a little bit of disappointment that's there because I should have seen these signs and I just overlooked them. And I think a lot of people who've been in narcissistic relationships can say yes, they overlooked a lot of stuff when you're with them. I think because you're just so tired and beaten down and troubled and just suffocated by these people that you don't, it's almost like you don't have the energy to kind of just like, I don't know, like kind of get yourself straight, and get the hell out of there. You just kind of continue going down that wrong road because you're just so tired. You've been dealing with all kinds of problems with them, aggravation, and you're just like, I'm so spent on this, and you just don't have the energy to just pick yourself up and get the hell out, and you just don't have it. So like that's the way I feel. But I'm not anymore. I'm not disappointed anymore. I don't think about it anymore. I do videos on this stuff. Maybe my story can help other people. Maybe you can resonate with my story and you can be like, yeah, I'm not alone in this. Like I've dealt with this too, type thing. And so yeah, that's basically it for closure. You got a better chance of getting blood from a rock if you're looking for closure from your ex narcissist. You're not going to get it. If you do get it, something that kind of like imitates closure, it's not real. It's not real closure because, like I said, they'll be back. They'll be looking for you on social media. They'll be playing games with you on dating sites if you're a dating site type person or anywhere else that you go online. Narcissists love to play online because they can hide online. Anywhere where they can hide and kind of sneak around, they love that. They do. They love it. And that's how they are in real life too. They love to sneak around. Um, they're not upfront. They're not straightforward. They're, like I told you before, they're very unconfrontational people. Um, so yeah, that's basically it for this one. And I guess that's it for this one. Anyway, that's I will be back with another video soon.